into week 3 of Laying the Wood. I'm JT, along with the Hall of Famer Rod Woodson, and we got a lot to cover here. 2 weeks in, I've always said if you're 0-2, it's the beginning of the end, or you better turn it around quickly. We got a lot of 1-1 teams, 2-0 teams, but as we mentioned, you're 0-2, man. You're digging a hole. You better get a win pretty quick here.
It is tough to dig a hole out of 0-2. Now, if most teams like the Ravens last year were 0-2. They dug themselves out, got to the divisional round, to the playoffs, and then lost to Buffalo. But that's not the norm. Starting 0-2 is kind of that death sentence for the season, saying that we're not going to be in the postseason. Going 17 games kind of helps you a little bit more than having the 16 games, or way back in the day, 14 games. So, you don't want to be in that situation, but you still need to play your best football late in the year, the second half of the year. You can play your best football in the second half of the year. At least you give yourself an opportunity to try to jump up into a wild card spot.
I want to begin with the quarterbacks who are hurt and start with Joe Burrow. George Atkinson, who one of the great legendary Raiders of all time, said one of the toughest injuries he ever had was turf toe. And he tried to explain it to me. And he said, let me tell you, I couldn't move. I couldn't cut. You can't play. And then you see
that little
Burrow,
toe, right?
Right. And then he talked Burrow's going to have that plus surgery.
Right. Yep.
He could be out anywhere to 12 weeks, 9 to 12 weeks. Can Cincinnati hang around? Because they're off to a 2-0 start. And those 2 wins might come into play, Rod, when they get to week 10 or 11 to save their season.
Yeah, the backup quarterback, Browning, he's coming in. He played well this past week.
Yeah, he did.
He doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. He has weapons. They got a solid running game. They got a pretty good defense. Just go out there and manage a game. Now, they're playing in the North. They still got to play Baltimore twice, right? They got to play the Steelers twice, right? So that's still yet to be seen. But with that being said, listen, Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And when you lose him, you do lose one of the best players in the league. But then you lose that. So that matchup, what he had with Jamar Chase and Higgins, right? They were lights out. I was watching them carve up teams previously, right? And I've seen them last year. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens defense was the number 1 defense in the second half of the year. They were doing their job against them. So he will be missed. The question is, how good does Browning play coming in, being the replacement, not trying to be Joe Burrow, just be the quarterback, deliver the football to the open guys.
Well, in that game, that early window was the Bengals-Vikings, no J.J. McCarthy. And he only played 1 quarter out of 8. But that 1 quarter got him a win, got him a home start where he played pretty bad. And now in this game, McCarthy's missing out on another home start with Kevin O'Connell, one of the best play callers and quarterback whisperers out there. He might miss 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, the hard thing is he was hurt last year.
Yeah.
So he didn't get a lot of time last year. And he comes in, he plays well. He had 1 good quarter and a half, right? He had a quarter and a half that he played really good football for him. And they got the victory. It hurts him. And hurting him, it hurts them, because he was supposed to be their future. He's their future quarterback. So he has to get healthy. If he can get healthy, get back on the practice field, because you're going to learn in practice. You're going to learn in games, because you're going to have some losses, but you're going to learn from those losses. If you remember what happened to you, what you should and shouldn't do, you're going to start seeing defenses, you'll start seeing coordinators, so you'll have a better feel for it. So he is hurting himself for the long term, for the short term. The long term is still yet to be seen, because he can come back, each game he comes back, he has 1 good quarter, and they win half those games. The Minnesota Viking fans are going to be excited to see what he can do the following year.
I was dying to ask you about Justin Fields, another guy that I was hoping for the Jets that they finally found their guy after all these. He had the confidence of the coach and the organization. He can't catch a break. He's hurt again. He's going to be out. The Jets are 0-2. They're going to take on Baker Mayfield in Tampa. We're going to get to that game in a second. It looks like the Jets are going to go 0-3 here, and it's because of injuries and bad bounces and the collapse to your former team, the Steelers. The Jets can't get out of the way of themselves, Rob.
Yeah, but listen, the one thing I will say, Aaron Glenn has done a good job so far as a head coach. They're gritty, they fight, It's not the same Jets team we saw last year. They don't look the same. So I think they're heading in the right direction. I think they're going in the right direction. Obviously, Field being hurt, that hurts him again. Does it hurt the team? Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was playing really good football for him. So hopefully he can come back in the near future, and if he comes back and play the way he was in the first couple games, then they can have some good highlights.
I wanted to ask you about Aaron Glenn. He seems like he's your type of guy who talks ball, not afraid to say what he wants to say. He's standing up to the media in New York. I think we talked about him on our first episode. They're in good hands, but he could be 0-3, 1-5, just because they can't get out of the way of the schedule here. But I think he's the guy to lead them.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if, obviously they're not going to have a winning season.
No.
But I would be shocked if the Jets even thought about doing anything.
No,
it's like you can't. You got to give these guys, you got to give coaches an opportunity to grow, not just as a head coach, but as a leader for these guys, right? And then when you look at it, when you go back to Shula and Chuck Noll and all those coaches who, when they first came in, they weren't that good. But they had time.
Right.
We don't give coaches time to grow in today's game because everything's like a microwave generation. Everything has to be immediate satisfaction. He's going to be fine. He is showing that he has control of that team. And listen, he cut that when he cut the receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he made everybody take notice. Like, you are auditioning every week.
I love that.
Not every year.
I love that.
Every week, you are auditioning to stay on this team. And I think he put the rest of the team on notice.
Two other quarterbacks. Mac Jones got the win. The Cardinals are playing the Niners. As we record this podcast and this stream, it looks like Purdy's going to try to go. That would be good to see Kyler Murray go up against Purdy. But Mac Jones can play. I mean, I have a list of the top backup quarterbacks. Mac Jones is near the top of the list. You know, you got a starter who probably could have started in this league for a while because of a change, and he gets to go to Kyle Shanahan. When you get to go to Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan just for a short period of time, tell our audience how important it is, even if you're a backup, and what you learn. Sam Darnold, good example, right?
Right.
With Kyle before he left, and now his career is going again.
You know, I think the biggest thing, when you have guys like Kyle Shanahan and players come in like a Matt Jones, who gets that knowledge firsthand. So he's going to be in the meeting room with him daily, right? He's going to say, okay, listen, you see the defensive end, he's in a 4 technique, he's in a 5 technique. If he's head up to the outside tackle, you know the rotation, he's either popping outside or rotation's coming to that side. So he's going to learn football. And those guys, when you see the Sam Darnolds of the world who had a great year for Minnesota last year and playing well for Seattle right now, but when you look at a guy like Mac Jones who can have that type of career if Purdy is a long-term, really don't know how long he'll be out, but if Matt Jones can come in and have some of those good games because of that, and listen and take that to the field. He's been there. He's been a starter in the National Football League, so we know he can play. But when you get around guys like Kyle Shanahan, those type of coaches help you bring out the best version of yourself that you probably have never seen before. And it's going to be fun to watch, because if he does light it up, then you love having issues, right? Like, okay, I know we're gonna play Purdy because we gave Purdy some money, but Matt Jones just put up 350 yards against somebody.
Yeah, he can play. When we come back, Rod's going to give an opinion about Tom Brady in the booth. I was at the game, obviously working for the Raiders, Monday Night Football. They didn't look good. Geno Smith had a really bad game. The Chargers, I got a couple of strong opinions on them. Chargers-Broncos coming up. This is a big game. We'll get to that next on Lay in the Wood. Welcome back to Lay in the Wood. I'm JT. That's Rod Woodson, the Hall of Famer. Please subscribe. That's important, and please share every week. Good to have you back here. So, Monday Night Football, I'm with fellow Hall of Famer of yours, Eric Allen. One of the largest pre-games I've ever done. There were 5,000 people just at our set.
Right.
The music, Monday Night Football, Crawford's there because he beat Canelo.
Yes,
I mean, everybody's in the building. Tom Brady's in the building.
Right.
And then we find out that Tom Brady's in the booth. I know you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, I just think the league has to be really careful by moving the goalpost for Tom Brady. and Tom Brady gets to speak. And I read some articles this week where Ben Johnson said, I don't really have issues talking to Tom Brady. But a head coach and a general manager shouldn't have to say that. They shouldn't have to feel that way, because Tom Brady, listen, if you think Tom Brady is not going to indulge in any illegal activity, well, I can just say there was a Spygate, there was a Deflategate. I don't know how much he was involved in those issues, but he was there. And if you think that he's not going to say, okay, he's a minority owner of the Raiders. Does he want success for the Raiders? Absolutely. So would you not listen to somebody? Maybe hear something. He's not going to talk to the OC. He's not going to talk to the general manager ever. No, he is. So I just think they have to be really careful with a slippery slope by allowing Tom Brady to be in the meetings and rooms and talking to players and coaches and personnel people, and to take that back to the Raiders, because that's not a good look. They just have to make sure. Remember, they always say, don't tarnish the shield. Well, right now, it's a bad look for the NFL. Now, we know one thing. Tom Brady's in there because the NFL said he's okay.
Yeah, let me read you the statement. There are no policies that prohibit an owner from sitting in the coach's booth wearing a headset during a game. Brady was sitting in the booth in his capacity as a limited partner. All personnel sitting in the booth must abide by policies that prohibit the use of electronic devices other than the league-issued equipment, such as Microsoft Surface tablets or the sideline viewing system. So,
right.
I'm just going to tell you on this, because I was there for that, and I didn't notice it. He was in the booth kind of close to where I was. I believe this is the perk of being an owner. You're a former player. If you become an owner and you're vetted and you happen to be working at CBS instead of Fox, and Rod Woodson's a minority owner of the Steelers, and you're in the box, it's because you have the privilege as a player and an owner. And I think with privileges come the ability to do this.
Obviously, the NFL is allowing this to happen.
Yes.
So it's not illegal, right? So that's one thing. But what I'm saying, it's a bad look. He's a minority owner. He's not the owner. Now, if it was Mark Davis, I probably wouldn't say nothing. But because Mark's not working in the media. Tom is. Tom is working with the media. He is talking to all these coaches. He's talking to all the players. And if you think he's not talking to Chip, if you think he's not talking to the general manager to help this team get better, maybe for the future or next year or even later this year, I think you're fooling yourself. So with that being said, Tom's not doing anything illegal. I just think it's a bad look. And every time the league says don't tarnish the shield, they have to abide by their own set of rules.
There's a name out there for a credit card company that says membership has its privileges. I think if you become an owner of an NFL team, look, the owner of the Colts, Mr. Irsay passed away. His daughter's on the sideline with a headset taking notes.
Right, but
so she got vetted on that too.
But she's not the minority owner. She's the owner. She's the majority. So I get it. I do get it that if you have it. But when you start seeing minority owners across all the different teams, then I bet everybody's going to start saying, oh, wait a minute, everybody can't do that. So right now it's just Tom Brady, and I respect Tom Brady, what he did on the field. It's just a bad look for the National Football League. Every time they say in their paperwork, in their contracts, when they give it to players, don't tarnish the shield, XYZ, or we can fine you, we can suspend you. That's a bad look for the league.
I disagree. For the league, no, I agree. Your comments are on the league. You're a gold jacket.
And not for the Raiders, for the league.
Got it. Couple of things as we look at that game. Geno Smith played really poorly. I mean, really poorly. In the first play of the game, he threw a bullet deflection, and you had 72 interceptions in your career. And I asked you before we came on, how many interceptions did you have where the ball didn't pop up and come right to you? I'm talking a ricochet when it came to you. I don't want to call it a fluke. I did. I'll take it back and apologize on X. But that's never happening again. And it turned the tide of the game.
It's rare that it does happen. But Geno's he's a hot, cold quarterback.
Okay.
Like when he's in rhythm, he's a rhythm quarterback. When he's in rhythm, Geno can throw the football down. But when he's out of rhythm, because the tight end hits the seam, He overthrows him by 5 feet. He was out of rhythm in this game.
The whole game.
Through the whole game, he was out of rhythm, and he'll find his rhythm. He's going to have some good games, like he has done in his career. But with that being said, Geno just has to make sure every week, every game, he has to be at his best for these teams, for them to win. He has to be at his best week in and week out. And as your best is required, it's every day. In practice, in games, you have to play well. If you don't play well, they're not going to win. Geno needs to play well.
Yeah, and what happened in that game, the Chargers only scored 20 total points.
Yeah.
That's something that no one's talking about. The Chargers could have put up 40 on the Raiders in that game. Raiders defense stabilized. But what I wanted to share with you was in that game, the Chargers were in total control. And at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, the Chargers had a 4-2 near midfield. And Harbaugh decided to go for it. You pump the ball. Raiders can't even run a play. Yeah. Raiders get the stop. If they score there, the Chargers come out again on the next series. They fumble on the first play. The Raiders could have won the game on back-to-back scores. Now, they didn't because their offense was out of whack. But I was just saying to myself, Jim Harbaugh.
This is the
problem. You're not supposed to be Brandon Staley. You're Jim Harbaugh. You can't do that.
This is what I don't understand. I get analytics.
Yeah.
I somewhat get it. Because analytics needs to have a human factor to it. How are you playing? How the game's going? What's the flow of the game? How are we playing offensively? Are we crushing them every run? Are we averaging 3.5 yards per carry? How's my defense is playing? Their defense is playing really good. So why put them in a bad spot? So I think sometimes coaches do make these in-game decisions that I would think once they see the repercussions of it, or it could have been, they say, maybe I shouldn't have done that one. So I would think I get the analytics, but still keep the human factor as a player. He played in the league. Have a human factor saying, you know what, I don't feel where we're going with this. The game is flowing the way we want it to flow. I'm not going to do anything to upset that.
Let's stay with the two teams we were talking about. The Chargers they'll host the Broncos. Remember, here's the Chargers schedule. Brazil, bunch of time off, Las Vegas. Now they go home and get the Broncos, but it's 3 straight AFC West games. If they win, they go 3-0 in the division. I just want to know Herbert going up against Patrick Surtain and that defense.
That's a good defense.
That Denver's got a good defense, but Denver's defense got shredded by Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
What should we expect in this game, Rod?
Well, Daniel Jones he played well. Listen, Daniel Jones in the first 2 weeks has played like Sam Darnold did last year for the Minnesota Vikings. So he's carved up 2 teams so far. Can he do it again? I'm not sure. But when you look at where the Chargers are at against a really good young defense for the Denver Broncos, the one thing I like about the Chargers is that Jim Harbaugh is letting Herbert go. He's running the ball more. He's like,
great point.
Be you.
You exactly nailed it. Nailed it.
In the previous years, he would come in, he would sit in the pocket, and he would throw the football. He would scramble maybe a handful of times, maybe 10 times, 20, 15 times the whole year. He is getting out of the pocket when he has to get out of the pocket, and he's a big player. He's a big quarterback. It's not you're going to bring him down a one-on-one with the small corner in the flats. It's just not going to happen. So the one thing I do like what Jim has done, he has given him the green light to be himself, to go play football.
Raiders will play at the Commanders. Jaden Daniels, they said on Monday, already is questionable. They'll make a decision later on in the week. Where are you at as shutting a quarterback down an extra week or saying, look, you're a football player in this league. If the trainers and doctors say you go, you go.
Yeah, this is my thing. I would think this week, if I'm the Commanders, if I sit him down for 1 week, because I think we can win with Mariota. Can we win this week without Daniels? And if I think he can get healthy, because the one thing that you don't want, because if it's a knee strain, I don't know if it's his left knee or right knee. He's a right arm quarterback, so he's going to have his right foot back. So I don't know if he's planting on that knee. I don't know what knee it is. But the one thing you don't want is to get any worse. So if you believe as a coaching staff that if I put Mariota in, he can come in and we can win this game this week with Mariota being there and we can give him a week's rest, then I would do that.
When we come back, we always give you our marquee games of the week, give you a little lean towards those games. And one of the games I'm looking at here, the 0-2 Chiefs and the 0-2 Giants.
That's crazy.
They gave the Giants that for their home opener. That was nice. We'll be right back. Thanks for viewing, watching, and streaming Lay in the Wood. Welcome back to Lay in the Wood. JT along with Rod Woodson. So I know you wanted to get into this Eagles game coming up against the Rams, and not so much because of the Rams offense. You've been very impressed with this young defense.
I mean, the defense is young and fast. There's one of the players that I've known since he's been in diapers, Quentin Lake. He's on the roster over there. And they're playing really good football. But with that being said, I love the defense. I'm a defensive guy. Matthew Stafford, I mean, he's been in the league for quite a while.
Yes.
And he was hurt during training camp. Nobody thought, I mean, even in my mind, I'm like, he can't play. He's going to play maybe 8 games this whole year. He's played lights out the first couple weeks.
Yes.
And I love vets because vets know how to play. They know how to practice. They don't need all the exercises and reps that the younger guys need to get a good feel for what is going to happen on game day, week in and week out. He's been there, and he has played lights out. So the defense I love, Matthew Stafford I love, Quentin Lake, I'm glad he's getting his playing time, and they're playing really good football on the defensive side.
Philadelphia has the media totally controlled. They beat Kansas City, and all anybody talked about was the Tush Push. Kansas City defended it. They didn't stop the ball right. No one's talking about A.J. Brown not getting the ball. Saquon playing okay, had a touchdown in that game. Everybody's talking about now the celebrity of Howie Roseman and the Eagles and how they're taking care of business. I got to give them a lot of credit. They go to Kansas City, and now they come home and have to play the Rams. And I just think the Eagles are on cruise control right now. I don't see them losing this game. They're a favorite at home unless they get into a shootout. And as you said, Stafford's playing well.
The one thing about the Eagles, they haven't played great football, but they still won.
Yeah.
And when you can win ugly, that tells you how good a football team that they are. Now, we talk about that tush push. Man, I can't. I'm really...
How would you have stopped it? Seriously.
You can't.
You're on the back end at safety or corner. You're at the line. What would you do?
You can't stop it because they get the... So when I played in the National Football League, you couldn't pull or push guys forward. Well, this is a scrum. This is rugby football. Yeah. That is rugby. You get in a big scrum and you're just pushing guys. That's not football. Football used to be a play. Football has plays. You can't tell me that's a play. That's a scrum. That's what that, if anybody's ever seen rugby, it's the exact same thing. Is it good for the offensive lineman and defensive lineman? Probably not in the long term, right? It probably is not. Now you can't, you can't stop it. Are they the best ones at it? Absolutely. They do a great job of getting leverage, getting low, keeping their legs driving, getting these big linemen, running backs behind them, pushing for 1 yard, 2 yards. They're great at it. Nobody else is like that with this tush push in the league than the Eagles. But with that being said, they really have to revisit that because they had 2 false starts. And for anybody to say, well, we can't see it because there's too many bodies in there, then then something has to happen because there has to be a point where you have so many bodies that there was 2 false starts, and yes, I've heard offensive linemen say, yeah, we always try to time it. But it's still a false start. I don't care if you're trying to time. If you time it too early, it's a false start.
Well, how about this? Let me push back on one thing. Let's say you don't push with the running back or the tight end. So it's Jalen Hurts. Then it's just a quarterback sneak.
Then it's the quarterback sneak.
But it looks like, Jalen Hurts can do something that Lamar can't do. If you put Lamar in harm's way, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, if you put him in harm's way, he could get hurt at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
Could end the year. They're not worried about that with Jalen. He's got the tree trunks and all that.
He's a bigger guy. The Ravens normally use Mark Andrews when they want to do something of that nature.
So why is it times where Josh Allen and Justin Herbert are stopped on that 1/4 inch quarterback sneak, but Hurts isn't? It's because of the play, the concept of that rugby play.
It's the concept of it, but it's the leverage that the offensive line gets for the Eagles. They get below the defensive line, and they're scooting everybody out. And then once you got running back, say you got another tight end behind you, you got another 500, 600 pounds pushing from that same angle, where the linebackers and the defensive line are all trying to dive. So they have no leverage. Once they dive and they get their feet off the ground, there's no more leverage. And then the Eagles, all you see the second surge, right? You see it on the first surge, they kind of get stopped. It gets stopped for about 2 seconds, a second and a half, and then they start pushing again. And that's where they get the first down. I mean, it's just one of those plays where it's not a football play. It just reminds me of rugby. And I was kind of on the fence this offseason, like, where am I with this? But when I really look at it, I'm going, that is not a football play. It is, back in the day, you could not help advance by pulling or pushing anybody with the ball down the field.
Well, I'm happy you brought this up because a lot of people are like you. They've evolved with it. Now they're saying no. And I'll throw this last thing out on this. If the Eagles win, for debate, back-to-back Super Bowls,
right,
and they take away the tush push in the offseason, is that an asterisk? I don't think it will.
I don't think it'll be an asterisk because they had the opportunity to take it away this year, and they said no. And I think everybody was like me because I was like, is it really a factor? But when I see, like, when I really paid attention to it, because I really haven't really paid attention to it, but when I really paid attention to it, I'm like, man, that's a scrum. That's what rugby is. Rugby, you just putting a bunch of bodies in there, and they're just moving the ball.
I think guys are going to get hurt. They have no data on it because they weren't doing it in the era of, the 50s and the 60s. If it was that great of a play.
60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
Right.
They just start allowing them to start pushing.
I would have loved you played on the greatest defense, the 85 Bears and your Ravens defense. I would have loved to have seen you two groups.
It would have been hard. Now, we did have Sam Adams and Tony Siragusa. We had some big bodies in there.
Yes, you did.
But it's still, it's not even about big bodies. It's about leverage.
Yeah.
If your offensive linemen are below you and they got the leverage, it's like wrestling. The wrestler who has the best leverage is going to more likely control the match. So they have a really good idea of how they want to have the leverage on the defensive players. And the defensive players, we're watching them. They're running and they're jumping. They're leaving their feet. And at that second phase of it, their feet are not touching the ground. So they have no more push. And that's when Philly always moves the ball.
I'm surprised there's not a lot more injuries. The game that I'm leaning towards, I want to give everybody, the Cowboys at the Bears. Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards at the Cowboys.
Crazy.
450. They score with 25 seconds left. The game is over. The Cowboys get it. They move the ball, so Aubrey kicks a 64-yarder and ties it and gets to overtime. What a bad loss for the Giants. The Giants would have been 1-1. All the momentum taken on the Chiefs. Not saying they're going to win. Now the Giants are probably going to go to 0-6 or 1-5 because of their schedule. That was a big moment, and I was surprised the Cowboys couldn't stop a Russell Wilson bomb to Malik Neighbors. They had no Woodson and safety on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, Bland and Diggs, they've made some money.
Yes,
back there with the Cowboys, and they've been getting beat. Now, listen, every defensive back gets beat. The Bear's going to get you, you're going to get the Bear. As long as you get the Bear more than he gets you, then you're doing really good. But they have not played up to what they're getting paid right now. And with that being said, Audrey, the kicker, he has the strongest leg I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's
like a golf swing.
He kicks. It's that 64-yarder was so easy. It could have went. That was a 70. Good 70.
Yeah, it was a 70.
Easy.
Yeah, easy.
I mean, the kid will be kicking a 70-yarder somewhere along the line if they have to win a football game.
That's a big game because last thing on this, I feel like Ben Johnson and Caleb. All signs are for me that there's going to be a divorce or a separation. And I don't think you can. I think the quarterback, I believe the franchise #1 pick overall technically is more important than the coach because coaches get fired, but you don't want to bail on that #1 pick overall. There's a big spot for Caleb. Yeah. Rod, they've had 2 weeks to fix him. Yeah. Now the Cowboys are coming in. It's home. Those Bear fans, they're tailgating. They don't have their winter coats and gloves on yet. They want to have a couple drinks and see their team win. They go 0-3 with Ben Johnson. Yeah. That's going to be a firestorm in Chicago.
This is the problem I have with Ben. He complained this week that they don't know how to practice still. He's the head coach. They had OTA 1, OTA 2.
Yeah.
All right. Mini camp, training camp, and now you're going to come back during the regular season, week 3, and say you don't know how to practice still? Well, whose fault is that? So and I think Ben's going to be a good coach, but he has to make sure as a coach that they see his vision. And the really good coaches are gritty, they're tough, they kind of have an ego, right? But they put that ego to their players saying, listen, hey man, you do that again, we're going to start this whole thing over. Yeah. I know they do have time limits anymore. I mean, it can't be like Chuck Noll back when I played, where it's like Chuck would be like, start this whole thing over. You're like, what, we're starting this whole thing over 2.5 hours into this thing? So you can't do that anymore. But you can put your finger on them and say, you're going to do this a certain way or you're getting cut. So if we're going to lose with you, I can definitely lose without you.
Well, I think GM Ryan Poles is on his way out. His record since he's took over has been brutal. When we come back, I believe it's a top 3 game of the entire year. Rod will be there. We'll tell you about it next on Laying the Wood. All right, we're wrapping it up on Laying the Wood. I think this is the top 2 or 3 game of the year. When the schedule came out, I circled it. It's Lions at Ravens. Lions are 1-1. They're back after their opening loss at Green Bay. The Ravens also got their win. Yeah. They should be 2-0 after the 40-25 collapse at Buffalo. I love this game because I think the Lions wanted to get their offense back on track. Offensive coordinator Johnny Morton, Dan Campbell said, we got the Ravens coming up next. We can't win this game 17-16. We got to be able to get in a shootout with Lamar. So the Lions look to me like they fixed a lot of things. Was that the opponent, or what did they do right that you saw on tape?
Yeah, I think offensively, Jared Goff is at his best when he's play passing. Okay. So run the ball. You got a two-headed monster with Gibbs and Montgomery. But when he's taking the ball, pulling it out of the belly of the running back and play passing, that is when Jared Goff is at his best. Drop back quarterback, can he throw the football? Yes. But he's at his best when he's like coming out of there, looking down the field. He has more time. He's comfortable in the pocket. Is when he's uncomfortable, where most quarterbacks in the National Football League, that's when they don't play their best football. But Jared Goff this past week was very comfortable. They ran the football. He was throwing the ball down the field. He's getting out of the pocket. So when he is, if they can continue that trend, what they had this past week, it's going to be, if they can do that the rest of the year, then you can keep seeing the progression of Jared Goff being one of those solid quarterbacks in the league.
Let me ask you this, because I put you in the hot tub time machine. If you were playing against Jared Goff, would you love that? Because if you were playing deep safety, knowing he's going deep, but also you knew he liked play action, and sometimes there were going to be those lower crossing routes where you can just come downhill. This seemed like a matchup and a quarterback you would have liked to go up against.
What you see with offenses are formation driven, so it's irrelevant of the personnel groupings. Now they put different personnel groups out there because they say, okay, if the running back is out there by himself, normally it's kind of a coverage ID. They want to see who's going out there with them, and then they kind of bring him back in. If a linebacker goes out with them, they bring him back in. They know it might be man-to-man, right? If a tight end's over there, what is he? He's the X.
Yeah.
He's not the tight end anymore. He's the X. And then you might have the Z, the E, who's a slot receiver, might be a third receiver, might be another tight end on the other side is a U. But once they get to a certain position, they only run so many routes. And then in your head, I know for me as a player, if I saw them in a certain formation, and I say, okay, if I see number 2 run a kind of like a semi-deep over, and number 1 is like 1 yard outside the numbers, he's running a dig. And if he bet not run the dig, because if he does, I'm going to pick that thing. Now, they better run a dig and go on me. If you run a dig and go, well, you might get me, because I'm going to be overly aggressive. But as players, what I love seeing from especially defensive players, the guys who are willing to put their foot in the ground and go make a play. Because you're going to get beat. But if you have a really good feel for what a team likes to do, then you should be able to take your shots. And there's certain players on each team, each defense in the National Football League, that's going to have that leeway with his coaching staff to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to give it to you. Go make your play.
So I hope you got good frequent flyer mileage, because after this Monday night game, which is a marquee game, then you come back to Vegas, then you're going to Dublin. Tell us about that trip.
Yeah, big game travel, going over there with them. It's going to have a great time. I mean, Ireland is It's a great place, man. It's get to spend a lot of time with some Steeler fans. Get to host a lot of little parties with them. So it's going to be fun. I get to be that kind of that liaison around the city. So going back there to see them and be around that city, to be around the people in Ireland, it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this week, everyone. We need you to subscribe, like, and do me a favor. Please share this. Share it with a couple of football fans all around the country, and then we'll get you ready before Rod hits the road to Dublin and when he comes back on a new edition of Laying the Wood.